Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's going to be a warm one today, talking about high temperatures, high humidity, heat index, triple digits easily, pollen counts high, all that kind of stuff. I reached out to my guys last night, our first responder medical team said, get ready because these types of conditions cause respiratory issues, and so we may get an increase over the next few days of, breathing difficulties, respiratory type problems. So, just for you folks, be aware of that. When it's hot and it's humid and it's pollen, and other things that kind of factor in, that kind of stuff could happen. So be aware of that. The heat is definitely a factor of several things, and one is apparently included that grid may go down. Yes, the Midwest grid, as shown here in this picture, they sent out a warning yesterday that it's possible that due to all the heat, there is some maintenance being done on one of their power centers, but it could go down. So if you live in those areas, or really any areas that's hot anymore, it seems, the U.S. grid just can't handle the burden. I was actually talking to a fella just the other day who works at a power plant, and he said if people only knew how fragile the grid is, how fragile all the power plants, everything, he says, and it's everything is outdated and it's old and it's overburdened. All these electric vehicles now are creating great burden on the system. He said, and was his words. He says, I'm surprised something hasn't happened already. Meaning, an attack or something on the grid. He says it's so fragile. He said there's only a few junction points. If you know where they're at, you can bring it all down. So this is always something that is a strong possibility. And if that happens, I mean, we're talking a lot of very serious chaos. It could be down for extended periods of time, maybe even months or years, depending on the situation. So yeah, just thought I would throw that out there to, some positive stuff to get your day started, right? Where I wanted to go with this today, World Economic Forum is kind of back in the news. They've been kind of quiet for a while, and that's been part of their plan this year at their big Davos event back in, January or February. Part of the agenda there was to get back in the good graces, to improve their image. And I think part of that improvement of their image is just to be quiet for a while. And so there's not been a whole lot. I mean, not that they're not doing anything. It's just they've been kind of quiet, and it's been quiet in the news. And I'm sure that's all part of, getting the media to do their bidding, which is what they do anyways. But anyways, they're back in the news. In the last few days, they put out an article on their website, and it's talking about an era of chaos, and that's what we are upon. And it lists all these issues that are happening and that very much could happen. And it's a warning that, this is not going to get any better. And of course, it talks about climate change, talks about cyber pandemic stuff, which is their big thing. That's why I keep telling you. That's why that movie back last year, the Obamas, the one that was awful. I'm telling you, and that's what that one was about, was a cyber attack that brought the grid down, that brought everything down. I think the average person, especially my age and older, maybe you younger folks get it because you grew up in technology. Maybe you're more, attuned to what's going on in the technical world. But the average person, I think, does not understand how much of our world around us is connected to the internet. And that if there was a major attack that brought it down, that it would cripple just about everything. And it could happen overnight. And so they're warning about that. They're warning about, like I said, climate change. They're warning about another pandemic. They're talking about the elections, saying that, you know, regardless of who wins, it's going to be bad. It's not going to stop the chaos. It literally says it's an era of chaos. It's not surprising. It's not shocking. It should, no one should really raise their eyebrows over this. Really, honestly, it's just confirmation of what we've all been saying for a long while. That number one, this is all planned out. And number two, they're in this for the long haul. They have an agenda, they have a plan and goals to meet. And they know that it's going to take a lot of chaos to get to those goals. Klaus Schwab, over the last several years, has made several statements about how people are going to be angry. They're going to be angry to implement these plans, and that there's going to be a lot of chaos, and that there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's part of that, you know, order out of chaos thing. And so what we're seeing happen, like I've said so many times, it's not a coincidence, folks. It's not just happening, right? It's not just, man, well, what's going on in the world that all this stuff goes on. It's just like all of a sudden, man. I can remember, you know, years ago, you know, yeah, bad things happened, but overall, you know, things were pretty okay. And now it's like, you know, every time you turn around, there's a new war, or there's some new economic crisis, or there's some new disease, or there's violence. It's all part of the plan, folks. This is part of their agenda to get to a place, and it's even mentioned, not the way I'm speaking of it, but it's mentioned in this article that technology can save us, basically. That's what their technology can save us. And so they've got to make things really bad for people to get to the point that they're willing to give up their rights, their freedoms, their autonomy, their beliefs, their children, their morals. They've got to make it really bad for people to give those things up so that they can implement their full plan. I mean, a lot of people call it different things, Agenda 2030, you know, the Great Reset, all this kind of, it's the beast system to me. And so they have to have things get really bad. And that's why we're seeing all this stuff happening. And they're talking about it. Oh, yes, it's an era of chaos because of all of these things that if you just let us fix them, if you just did these things that we've been telling you about, you know, this plan, this Great Reset, this Agenda 2030, if you let us implement these things, it would fix all of these problems. But it's going to be an era of chaos until then. And they're telling us what's coming. They're telling us what's happening. You know, they've been preaching in the cyber pandemic for a while. They've been talking about grid going down. They've been talking about the next pandemic. They've been talking about just general violence and chaos in the streets. We are seeing these things happen. How can an average person not see that? If they took the time to see all of this material and see what these elites, these top level people are saying, and then compare it to what's actually happening, I don't see how anyone could see any different. Their plan is being played out right before our eyes. You know that, I know that. If you don't know that, you need to hurry up and catch up. There's not a lot of time to take your time to catch up. You need to do it quick. But what we're seeing when they start putting this information out again, you know, hey, it's an era of chaos, folks. These are all the things that are going to be happening over the next months and years. You and I should take that as a warning. Yes, a confirmation that what we've been talking about is correct, but a warning that it's going to get worse. This isn't over. That we haven't peaked yet. You know, it's not like, well, if we could just hold out just a little bit longer, things will start going back uphill and do really good. And man, we could be this revival, this, you know, it'll be this new era. Yeah, it's a new era, folks. It's a new era of chaos and destruction. to destroy things, to destroy the system. They cannot build a new system on top of an existing system. They have to destroy the one that exists now. It's a plan to reduce the population of the world. That's not been a secret for a long time. Now, it's a plan to take over you, to get you to the point that you are so desperate, that you're so hungry, that you're so tired, that you're in so much fear, that you will give up anything. You will turn your children over. You will turn your personal property over. You will turn your morals, your traditions, your beliefs, your Bibles. You will turn it all over to them for this new way that's going to be peace, and it's going to be plenty, and it's going to be equality, and all of this kind of stuff. This is the plan. And so when you listen to myself or to others, or you check things out on your own, look in the news, and you see all of these events, and it's overwhelming. It's this constant bombardment of, this is the next bad thing happening, and here's another one, and here's another one, and then this going on, and this is falling apart, and this is going to war, this is getting worse. It's all part of their plan, folks. This has been planned out for a long time, decades. And it's getting to that point that the plan is getting close to implementation. That's why you need to plan and prepare. The other day, if you've watched it, I made a video talking about how one of my big criticisms with the prepping community in general is that they're so short-minded, short time period focused. Oh, we've got to prepare for, something happens and it lasts 30 days or 60 days or 6 months or whatever. But, eventually things will pick up and it'll go back to normal because it's, the grid went down and so it took a while to get it fixed or whatever it is. And I disagree with that. You need to be preparing for the long haul, because this plan that they're putting into place, this isn't a temporary thing. This is something that will completely change the human existence. Now, I know that many of you believers like myself, that you say, well, we won't be here through all of that. That's very true, most likely, but we don't know the timelines and stuff. So I think it's best to just plan on going the long haul. And if we're blessed and fortunate enough to not have to experience it all, then hey, that's a win. But we need to be planning and preparing for long-term, permanent, as much as no one wants to hear that word, permanent change, permanent collapse, permanent difference. That the world is changing. It has changed. It is changing. And these people are at the helm. And they're going to run everything in the ground they can, because they want you, your mind, your heart, your soul, your DNA. They want it all. And we have to be prepared to stand against that. And that's going to be a lot, folks. That's more than just, a little hiccup in the system that causes things to go down for a while. You need to be preparing and praying and prepping and doing all of it as much as you can, and as tough and as hard and as you can, because I'm telling you, it's coming. It's here. It's coming. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.